But it was one of those, like, to have a youth ask you to do something that in your mind you've thought, this is a fear, I'm never going to touch it, it's not going to happen, was very powerful, and there was no way to say no. There was no way I could say no when I was asking him to do it all day long and put his trust in all of these people. Why wouldn't I put my trust in them? So I think that helped a lot between the adults and the youth as well, that we put our trust in them as much as we were asking them to put in us.
I think that's an excellent point. One of the groups that we've all worked with is the Mayor's Youth Advisory Council from time to time. And their mission is to really offer a youth voice on public policy matters. And one of the things that's interesting for me in the work that I do with them is that they really don't understand that if they do make their voices known, that it does have a powerful effect. You know, everyone at this table is an advocate for young people. And, you know, I hate to say it, but sometimes the leadership, they see us coming and they know what we're going to be asking them for. They know what we're going to be saying.
Right.
And, you know, and they also now sometimes how to say no. Some of us, that's not so easy, but for some of them, they know how to say no. But when a young person comes to you and they speak from their heart and they speak with their experience and they speak with knowledge, it's really hard to like just turn around and say no to that. It's something you really feel like you need to listen to. So to some degree, I think working with young people and encouraging that voice and supporting that is some of the most valuable work we do. Because like with you, Glenda, you were talking about, you know, how you had one person go through the process and then reach back and help others. You know, the older I get, the less relevant I feel working with young people. But when you can see other people take on that work, that's pretty amazing stuff.
It is.
So now, does your group have a mission, or are you getting together? Like, is there an ultimate outcome that you're looking for with your group, or are you getting together to have a forum for an ongoing dialogue?
Well, it's a combination of both of those things. We are working on a mission statement, but ultimately, the important piece of the mission statement is going to be focused on the youth having a voice when it comes to the Manchester Police Department. And the other piece is also ensuring that not only the kids have a relationship with the Manchester Police Department, but they're also taking that message into the community for other youth to be able to come to the table, along with their parents, who also are distrusting of the police department. So,
excellent.
Yeah.
I think that's another thing that's really powerful too, is that young people, I think, also can really help and have a powerful voice in their family too. And you really demonstrate that with your program by them being courageous enough to start the dialogue. It makes it safer for their families too as well. Good thing. Bob, with the MVP teens, do you all have like a mission statement or an ultimate goal that you're looking for? Or not you, but actually they.
They actually did come up with a mission statement. Shaw actually knows it better than I do in front of me. But they did sit down, come up with a mission statement and goals and objectives that they wanted to outcome this year.
Yeah, so their main mission is to give youth a voice in the community around violence and how it affects them, and then provide education to both peers and adults about the effects of violence on youth.
All right. And then the youth leadership group, I guess their mission is really to train young people on how to become more effective leaders. All right. Well, enough of our words. We're going to take a break here for a minute and just watch some video of some young people talking about their experiences in these groups, and then we'll be back in a minute.
My name is Kevin Cassidy, and I am a junior at Manchester Central High School. I'm also co-founder and chairman of Manchester Violence Prevention Teens. MVP Teens' mission is to provide the City of Manchester with a youth perspective on the effects of violence and promote violence prevention education in order to create a safer community.
Well, the big thing with MVP was it's a lot of anti-violence, and going to the public high schools and everything, and being a teenager growing up, I mean, you see a lot of the violence. So it's always been a thing like wanting to stop that, make it like, a safe place to live, a safe place to grow up.
The Making the Peace curriculum was written to help young people break away from violence and develop self-esteem while assisting them in regaining a sense of community.
Why would you want it? There's other ways you can solve argument or whatever you want to call it. You can talk it out, or you can just sit down and actually tell the other person how you're feeling.
Well, going to the high school and, you know, in the public parks and just being a teenager, you see a lot of, you know, the fights and the drama and everything growing up. It's just, you know, a part of growing up. And it's, you know, it's a part that really shouldn't be there. So I always wanted to like get rid of that X factor to, you know, make it, why is that a part of growing up? Why do you see that? Like, that shouldn't be there. Why is it?
I mean, just being able to help the cause, trying to prevent the, you know, starting, because in school, not the adults, not the teachers, they don't all know what's going on. It's mostly the teens because they're talking with their friends and you know what's going on. So you know more about it before the adults do.
So it's part of joining this to help get rid of that part of growing up where, you know, you don't see the violence, you don't experience it in the schools or in the parks or anything. It's just a safe place to live and you don't see any of that. So it's just kind of, it makes growing up a little easier and less stressful.
Hello, my name is Francesca, and I want to tell you a little bit about the first time I held a brand new baby.
That violence starts just by simply calling someone a name or a gesture, or just like making fun of somebody. It's not usually a violent person that is violent.
The first time I held a newborn child, I was about 5 years old. To anyone, this might have seemed like a simple task, but to me, it felt like the most important job I had in the world. My little sister is named Alexandra, and she was born on February 4th, 2000. Holding my little sister for the first time was a feeling undescribable. Hearing the thump of her gentle heartbeat against mine, feeling her fragile body scurry for warmth under her blanket, and seeing her big, beautiful brown eyes sparkle was a powerful experience. I remember seeing my reflection in her eyes. Her eyes shine so brightly. The fact that I knew I was protecting her gave me butterflies in my stomach. Even though I was holding her, I also knew I was holding more than a mere child. She was totally innocent and pure.
We all started off with a pure heart, and like we were scarred, and after being scarred, we use violence to protect ourselves, and not just violence, but like drinking, alcohol abuse, like drugs. You just start getting more violent. It's not good for you. It's like not good for your health or nothing like that. It's actually really, really bad, and you end up going to jail, like not knowing what you're doing.
When young people are hurt long enough and consistently enough, they find ways to protect themselves from the harsh words that are used to scar their pure heart. We call these ways of protecting ourselves shields. The lines above the heart are called shields. People use shields when they are trying to protect themselves from being hurt. I would like you to think about the ways that young people protect themselves from verbal violence that they experience. If this was the heart of a little boy, and he was being hurt by words and actions of those around him, how might he protect himself from the pain of that verbal and physical violence?
The idea behind the shield is that people are like fragile after being called names, and they just get tired of being called names. So they protect themselves by putting shields up, and like the shields consist of fighting, joining gangs, using drugs, abusing alcohol. By doing the exercise we did, or just like talking to them, because people in that room, they didn't even know who we were, and they like started to share stories and stuff.
Thinking about MVP and the most important part of the day, my favorite part of the day, is just the satisfaction you get from it, knowing you're making a difference. That, you know, every time we walk in and out of a building or a conference or a meeting, we know someone took something from it, and it is another stepping stone to stopping the major problems of bullying, and another step that we're taking towards solving an issue that, you know, is a global problem that does need to be solved. And every step is, you know, one less. And everything we do brings us one step closer to that final goal. So that's, you know, my favorite part, is knowing that even a little bit at a time, we're getting closer to, you know, the end product.
Welcome back. I hope you enjoyed that footage. I thought that this would be a nice time for us to talk about, you know, take a few minutes here and talk about some of the joys that we have working with young people, and what a real honor and privilege it is. And Bob, you've been working with young people in this community how long now?
18 years.
18 years.
Yes.
So you
in
have
an official capacity.
So you are. Yeah, you grew up here, didn't you, Bob?
Yes, I did.
All right. How's the community changed since you've grown up in Manchester?
A lot more diverse. Manchester was primarily white growing up. Very diverse, which I think is a great thing for the community. It's a great learning experience for a lot of the kids to learn each other's cultures. We see that every weekend in our teen programs, that, you know, there's so much they can learn from each other. So it's a great experience getting to know, the kids, where they're coming from, what their customs are, and how quick they become Americanized.
I think that's a really interesting thing. A lot of times young people adapt to the culture so much faster than their parents do that it kind of creates a gap sometimes in between the parents and the children.
Well, it really does, because it gives the kids more the power in the household, because they're the English speakers, so they have all the power in the household, and that's why I know there's a lot of programs in the city trying to get the parents to learn English so they can take back that power of the household.
Yes.
So.
Is that you? I hear you saying that that's something that you experienced too. How does that work out with families, Glenda?
It's really tough because the parents are really frustrated, and even to the point where they thought maybe if they lock them out for not coming in on time and things like that. But we had to have a conversation with them that's kind of against the law for you to do that for your teenager. And again, it's like they're still at their wits' end. They're like, how do we get our kids to understand that we are the parent, although we may not speak the language, we're not Americanized, but at the same time, we're still their parents, and we still have the right to have rules and regulations in our home that they're not following.
Right.
So again, it's bringing the kids to the table, not just the kids, but the parents as well, and really having these conversations about the importance of the parents having the input, and taking back the power.
It's interesting because all of the programs that we're talking about today really do have a significant element of them that encourages young people really being in active dialogue with adults. I think I think that's really important, because many people who parent teenagers, not just the families that we work with, communication starts to break down during teenage years for a lot of people. So I think us fostering young people having artful dialogue with adults is a really powerful and good thing. Bob, if you could take your experience, the experience that you worked with young people, and talk about one thing that has happened to you that really stood out for you as an experience that would give people an idea about the importance of working with young people. I know you have a bunch of experience, but if you were going to just tell one brief anecdote, what would it be?
I don't think it's one brief anecdote. I think it's one day. I think graduation days in the city, thank God they do them all on one day now, but to me that's the best day of the year for me, to be able to go to to all the graduations, see all the kids that we work with graduating, who probably normally wouldn't would if they didn't have some kind of intervention from some form of a program or not. So to me, that's a great day. Just going to graduations is very powerful. Yearly, and it keeps you motivated to what you want to keep. It makes you want to keep doing what you're doing.
It's a huge goal to see somebody make it to the getting their diploma. Shel, any experience that you've had about working with young people that you think could give our viewers a little bit of insight about the value of it in your own life?
I think I'm amazed by them every day. Every single day that I see both the kids that I work with in MVP Teens. I also work at Teen Night, and I volunteer sometimes at Kids Cafe, the Salvation Army. I'm just blown away at their resiliency, their ability to be positive no matter what's going on. I think as an adult I might have a bad day at work, or I might, be stressed out about something that's going on in my home life, and I can go there, and for a few hours the kids do nothing but make me feel better, even though that's, it's not what they're necessarily supposed to be there for, but they are just so happy, and a lot of them are in situations that most people would look at and never think they would have anything to be happy about.
Right.
And yet they find a way to smile and laugh and have a good time and, tease us and come up with all sorts of jokes, and they just have the best sense of humor. And so I look at it, and it's kind of, a reminder to me that I can, sort of suck it up and, all right, I can put my life back together and things can be fine. So I'm just really amazed by them, and I think some of them are some of the funniest human beings I've ever met in my life, and to the point where our sides have hurt from some of the kids. But it's sort of like the end of the day with them is always the best time. So I always look forward to seeing them.
Excellent. Any experience that you've had, Glenda, that you'd like to share with our
I'm amazed at the stories that I hear from the kids. I'll talk about one in particular. There is a 13-year-old Latina who's who's a part of our youth group, and she talks about the importance of making sure that young people are being educated about sex. She said she really doesn't like the fact that boys are able to touch girls, and even if it's passing in a hallway, she feels that she doesn't want to be segregated, but she wished there were more girls' schools and then schools for boys, because she just feels like too many young people are being involved with sex, and I found that amazing coming from a 13-year-old. And the other thing that was very disturbing to me was the fact that she talked about her dad, who I guess was in prison, and then he got out, and there was nothing for him to do, no education to prevent him from going back in. And I'm listening to this young girl, and she's like, she goes, and it's not just for my dad. She goes, it's for other young people who get in trouble. When they get in trouble, what's out there when they get out? What's preventing them from going back in? I thought it was amazing, So, we're looking, in the future to figure out, what can we get involved with? What kind of programs that are not in existence that we could, help to focus on around things like that, so.
In my role working with young people, I think probably one of the things that's really the most interesting to me is how, as we get older, we develop labels, for people, and we look at somebody and we size them up and we think, well, I have an idea and understanding about what this person is. And one of the things that's been fascinating to me is that when I got to OIS, we were kind of known as the place where bad kids went. And that really rubbed up against me because I don't really believe in bad kids. But since I've been working with youth leadership programs like the Mayor's Youth Advisory Council and MVP Teens, one of the things I've noticed that has been very powerful to me is you really can't tell a book by its cover. There are some people in our community who you would look at them and you would think, okay, this is the next generation, the best and brightest, and they have some of the very same issues that young people walking through the halls of the mall or a school or something might have. And I think one of the things that happens to us is that we get to this place where we want to kind of like look at a young person and size them up. When you get past that and you sit down, young people will tell you some very powerful things about their experiences at home, their experience in the community, and that's it. And then I guess the other thing that is really important I think to me with working with young people is that if you do give a young person an opportunity to step up and to assume a leadership role, it is amazing the quality of their better angels come forward all the time. I'm always amazed at how hopeful young people are about, trying to figure out what the solution is for their friends and in their community, and how they always seem to bring the best of themselves to that. So I think the work that's being done around youth leadership is really important. We're going to give you some numbers for the New Hampshire Minority Health Coalition, the Manchester Health Department, the Salvation Army, and the Office of Youth Services, so that you can become involved in some of these programs if that's what you would like to do. Please feel free to call those numbers. And thank you for watching the show today for young people. We'll see you next time. Goodbye.